Oh no, we last thing. Sorry, we need an episode name. This is fun though. This is a fun part of it. So I'm just gonna call this
Oh yeah,
episode 23.
23.
Um,
The Michael Jordan
you know,
experience.
the Michael Jordan sound check experience.
Yo, we the 93 Chicago Bulls of podcasting.
Well, there's a 3 in that too. Isn't that ironic? Okay, so I just have to tweet this. This is the very fun, lucky thing that all podcast guests get to see how the sausage is made. It ain't pretty, but you got to tweet. That's period. That's it. So I'm gonna go.
That's
There's a lot
period.
of joy in this actually. This is a good.
You just used
This is a
Zoomer.
nice.
You used good Zoomer lingo right there. You said,
What
and
is
that's
that?
period. You said that's period.
Oh, that was a mistake. What does that mean?
It's like that's like the end. Like no, like that's it. Like I said what I said. Like that's period.
Wow. Wow. I copied all the videos, but I then forgot the Twitter name of Frederic. What is oh I found it. Okay. I had to use Twitter downloader. Have you ever used that, Frederic?
Twitter downloader? No, maybe. What, to download videos?
Yeah.
Yes. All right.
Yes.
So important.
It's very helpful when you do the job I do.
I knew you knew about it. After Dubs knew about it and he was talking it up, and then yeah.
You gotta,
I tweeted it.
You gotta find ways to download stuff from every website.
Yeah. YouTube is the worst. I can never download anything from YouTube. I have a really hard time.
Just
I'll send-
Google YouTube downloader.
No, it's they're all like malware now. They really cracked down on them.
How Gen Z of you to say that. In my day, it was called spyware. I don't know if Freddie or Piv, you remember that, the spyware era?
Sure.
Malware is more general, so I think that is good. But okay, so now on to another quick ritual that many iconic podcasts have, which is it's more ritual than it is useful, and but just the sound check. So Freddie, you're up for this segment. So would you mind please saying, for sound check purposes, what you had for breakfast?
I had granola with some yogurt.
Ah, very nice. And Pib and Dove, your breakfast for sound check purposes only?
I had Ritz crackers and peanut butter and a Monster Energy. Cheers.
Nice. No, I'm not saying nice to that. That's not nice. That's degenerate. It's fine. I shouldn't judge. What you should be drinking is Liquid Death. Have you ever heard of Liquid Death?
You mean water?
Yeah, you guys know about this? Pib, you know about this?
Liquid Death? No.
Liquid Death. It's like a drink. It's called Liquid Death. I should pull it up, actually. Although for intentional reasons, you guys won't be able to see it. But the fans at home will be able to see it if you tune in on Twitch. But the issue with Liquid Death is it basically looks like an energy drink, essentially.
I know, it looks like a beer. It looks like you're like drinking like some like hipster hardcore beer. It's got like a golden can. It's like all black and like heavy metal logo kind of thing.
I think it looks like Monster Energy. Hold on. If you go to the Twitch stream, you'll be able to, with great delay, see it in a moment. I'm going to put it on for the people at home.
Anyway, inside of this crazy can it's just water.
Okay.
So you like look cool drinking water. That's the premise.
It is insane. I guess I can copy this and paste it into the Discord where you can see this intentional setup. We did it like this on purpose, but okay, there's a pop-up. You can basically see it. There's a pop-up.
It's like a screenshot.
You get it. It's Liquid Death. So the idea is you buy this, and it's insane. It says murder your thirst. This is a brilliant product. But anyway, you should be drinking this. I actually had it for the first time yesterday, and then I ordered a ton of it because I'm like this impulsive guy. But I think it's great.
I just drink water, regular.
Yeah, out of plastic. Good luck with that.
BPA
You know, the
free.
average person drinks a credit card a week. Okay, Pib, what'd you have for What'd you have for breakfast? How many credit cards do you have for breakfast?
I had an orange,
Oh,
just an orange, but
Very nice.
a red one. How do you call this? Blood orange?
blood. Yes,
Okay.
it's a sort of violent. It's the sort of it's the
It's a bit like liquid death.
death of
Also.
orange.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the liquid death of fruit.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Or is
that's
liquid?
very nice.
Yeah.
But if you want to look cool and drink a beer, you're not allowed. You have to put it in a brown bag.
True.
In the US, no?
In public,
Yes, in public.
it depends where you are, what
Okay.
state you're in, and everything. Yeah.
Although during COVID, the COVID era, everyone was basically saying whatever. Like you could go get takeout drinks in New York City,
Yeah.
and so
You
I
can
think
get
that's
it
affected
DoorDash to your house. It's very easy.
things. That's affected things.
You could pour beer or any other alcoholic drink into your liquid death can.
That's true.
There you go. People think you're hydrating. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, people will think you're drinking beer, and you will be. So it's actually very artistic to do that. Yeah, it's like. Have you guys ever seen? Now we're cold opening, gradually cold opening. Have you ever seen Catch Me If You Can?
No.
Okay, so it's sorry, Dub, you're getting, but yeah, whatever. You've had plenty of time. There's this iconic scene where Leo is like this scammer who's running away, and he's cute and fun, and he's like outsmarting Tom Hanks, who's but Tom Hanks ends up being like kind of a good guy anyway. So Tom Hanks barges into Leo's hotel room and basically says, like, here's the scammer, whatever, like, get out with your hands up. And Leo comes out of the bathroom and basically says, you're on this too? What are you doing here? Like, I was way before you. I'm the Secret Service. You're the FBI. Like, blah, blah. He's going to get away. And so he really pretends to be the Secret Service. And Hanks is kind of like, are you the real Secret Service? And asks sort of for his wallet. And then Leo turns around and says, can I see your ID? You never can be too careful. And that is hilarious to me. Like the scammer going so far as to say, I need to check your. And that's what I feel like it occurs to me with the liquid death thing for some reason. Anyway, that's a movie. That's called A Bit of a Cold Open. Let's have another cold open. If you go to the Twitch, you can see this, but this is Casablanca thing. Okay, I'm going to play this. Imagine it.
You buried the lead. That was a very good segue.
Yeah.
With the movies.
Yeah, right. Come on, that's called cold open, dude. It's you don't have to worry about it. Okay, here we go. I'm playing it. Imagine it playing.
If that plane leaves the ground and you're not with him, you'll regret it. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but soon and for the rest of your life.
But what about us?
You'll always have Paris. Ilsa, I'm no good at being noble, but it doesn't take much to see that the problems of three little people don't amount to a hill of beans in this crazy world. Someday you'll understand that. Now. Here's looking at you, kid.
So this is the ending scene from Casablanca. Sorry, but you don't use a lot. So let me ask you this question, Frederic. First and foremost, the Humphrey Bogart punk says, if you don't go with him, you'll regret it. Maybe not today, but soon, and whatever for the rest of your life. And then he says, someday you'll understand that. Isn't that like isn't that a little condescending for him to say someday you'll understand that? Like, isn't that implied by the other part? Like you will regret it. You'll understand that you'll regret it. Like you have to both regret and understanding of that regret.
Are we starting this by criticizing the script of Casablanca? One of the
More like by criticism, I mean engagement with. I mean not just accepting things how they are, but rather. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a good place to start because.
I'll answer this more seriously. It was made in almost 100 almost a century ago. 90 years ago, I think, roughly. In the movie, Ilsa, the character he's talking to, isn't the most. She's literally everything about her is about the man she's with, right? It's not the most feminist take, the most liberated, more new age woman's take, which is weird saying on a podcast full of guys. But it's so. I'm sure things would be different today, but. It's still a heartbreaking and beautiful moment, I think.
That's a great answer. And I think, I would just say, yeah, it's the fact that you can even criticize this movie, but in an intelligent way by modern standard, because most iconic movies, there are a lot of them that aren't so good by today's standards, that are like, I used to think that about Citizen Kane, actually, but then I watched it again, and good movie. So, okay, taking a step back for a moment, this was a video. We're talking about Casablanca. We're engaging critically with Casablanca, but we're also looking at something that is not the exact screen of the Casablanca ending. Like, the thing you are seeing is not exactly Casablanca. And maybe, Freddie, could you characterize how this video is different from the actual video of Casablanca?
I guess, I mean, look, it was instead of the actors, Humphrey Bogart and Ingrid Bergman, who were in the original movie, you've got two punks saying those lines. And yeah, this was something I made a while ago now, but it was one of the first times where I thought, what if you could? I sort of asked myself, can a punk make you cry, right? And can you care about them emotionally? And so I wanted to test it out with something most people know. And I needed something very easy where it was just two close-ups. I didn't want to do Avatar where they're riding on dragons or something and flying away. But something very emotional, and it was very interesting to do. Like, it's just with like putting like one little pixel, it looks like she's crying. There's a tear, or that's enough to, I think, when you see it, I was surprised by how much you would still get and how much emotion you would still get out of just a few pixels, and not a fully fledged human being. So yeah, that was the test.
I love it. Welcome to the Council 21 podcast. My name is Tom, aka Middlemarch. My co-hosts are Dovetail and Piv. And today our guest is, let me get to the main Instagram page, which has a lot of visuals, which I love. Today our guest is Frederic van Strydonck. Am I saying that correctly? That's something I should have verified beforehand.
Van is German, but
Van, sorry, ignorant. Yep.
But
Van Strydonck, who is, per Instagram, which is what creative people look at, a video creator, but I would call him much more than that, and also germane to, as you see the background, we are a podcast about art and timeless art, and particularly timeless art as it relates to blockchain technology, and let's be honest, a lot of CryptoPunk stuff. And so when it comes to CryptoPunks, Freddie, as he prefers to be called, is one of the top guys out there in terms of looking at things a little bit differently. It's sometimes good to do what everyone else is doing, just copy everyone else and just blend in and not have an original thought. Like, that's good a lot of the time, but sometimes it's good to be a little different. And a lot of what Freddie has done is kind of twist things. And also, if you don't like punks, he has a lot of other stuff too, which is not the same for us. No, these guys do. I have less. We all do. So what is what is your
Dovetail has to go have a very quintessential New York City experience.
Yeah. Before you go, just say your favorite iconic movie of all time.
Avatar 2: The Way of Water, directed by James Cameron. Okay, I'll see you soon.
Ironic millennials. I know you're not being ironic, and you're not a millennial. All right, come back. Please do not close Discord. It will F everything. I'm gonna have to rearrange it if he does that. Maybe it's fine. Piv, what is your favorite iconic movie of all time?
We haven't rehearsed that. I'm just going to say Le Mépris now.
What is that?
That's a movie with one of the main characters is a house in it, or is a building.
Architect meme.
Yeah, but it's quite a nice Le Mépris. With
how do you spell that? This is, I wasn't planning to go so deep into anyone's answer here, but since I've never heard of this and it sounds interesting, what is have you heard of this, Freddie? You know this movie?
Yeah, sure. It's a Godard film. It's called Contempt in English, I think. It's a
movie house.
It's a very famous Nouvelle Vague French film.
And sorry, what's the name of the
Contempt.
How do I write this?
Well, in French, it's le mépris. Le,
Yeah.
you know, and M-E,
La.
M-E,
Here we
free.
Mépris. Okay, here we go. It's new wave, by the way. Okay, very interesting. Contempt. Fascinating.
But
Okay,
I also very much like the Russian avant-garde movies. Like,
yeah, and Casablanca. Just say a normal one too. But yes, this is great. No, this is actually helpful because I will watch this. I'm actually looking for a new movie to see, and then I guess I would just start. And I think people like this like soundbite type thing because it's like humanizing in a way. And then so I will just ask you, Freddie, not you, Pib, or myself. What is your favorite movie that has come out in the past, 5 years or 2 years or whatever? A favorite contemporary movie, a good one.
Contemporary movie. I mean, the one that everyone is raving about is Everything Everywhere All at Once. That came out last year. That just blew my mind. But I'll give a slightly less obvious answer, and that was I love Licorice Pizza, the film that came out about a year ago, I think, which was a very simple little love story, directed by Paul Thomas Anderson, and I thought it was very lovely.
Love it. Yeah, no, that's great. I think it's actually braver to give the more mainstream answer, especially if you're you, because people are like, Freddie, you have to be, more whatever that I am, cutting edge. I like that movie too. I'm actually watching the director's commentary right now because I had to buy the whole thing. So I got the director's commentary. And you watch the director's commentary of this thing, and you're just blown away. Like they're like, oh, that little picture on the wall was actually a cameo by the grip or whatever. Like every detail in this movie, and probably most movies that aren't like that or whatever, is gone over with, thought about, and when the audience sees it, they're just like, whatever. Like so I think I'm sure that must be true of the even this 36 seconds. But I want to dig more into this. Let's watch another one real quick. Those at home can see this. This is the Punks at Night video, and in it you've got like Kenobi's punk and another guy in there, and they're kind of hanging around. Sorry,
I think they're funks.
Sorry. Yes, of course. Well, that's actually. I mean, I think it's fun to sort of say that because when you're talking about, well, taking a step back, like. I love the extension of the punk universe, as do we all, but I am always very hesitant about like non-canon things happening. Like putting a tear on a punk's face is not canon, but that's like pretty, an extension of canon. But like showing the back of a punk's head, showing a punk's body, putting a punk in the real world, I think creates some tension within me because, as you say, are these funks or are these punks? Well, if punks live in the real world, they should be able to turn, but if they're art objects, they can't. So I think maybe getting into that, like if you're doing a video like this or like the Casablanca one, and you need to draw something that not only doesn't exist in the punk universe, but is precluded by the way the punk universe works. Like the tier doesn't exist, but could exist. Yeah, but Pib, actually, maybe ask you this question, Pib. Just like what, because you are the one actually doing it of the two of us. So how would you characterize the Capsule 21 perspective here?
No, I think it's very interesting what you say because putting them in a movie and you also change their heads, Frederic. They actually turn their heads. So are they funks or punks then?
So this is such an interesting question, and we can talk about this for hours. But I understand the way you feel, that there is a purity to the original, but I think, and this has also been something where if you look at my videos from let's say a year and a half ago and the videos today, there's a very slow and gradual progression of how much I'm allowing myself to do with the punks. In the beginning, I would just add a tear. I would maybe make them turn their eyes or like maybe make them blink. And then slowly I started to make them, look up, look down, look left, you look right. And I recently started to experiment with bodies and stuff like that. I haven't. I'm working on an animation now where they're actually it's some punks walking down the street, and I'm hesitant to release it. I'm very hesitant to release it because
Interesting.
I want to be a big part of what I'm trying to do is I want to be truthful. I always get permission from the owners, first of all, and I want the community to approve what's, if I go on the Punks Discord, or let's say I do something for the Moonbirds Discord, I want them to approve what I'm doing. If I'm interpreting it in a way that they don't like, and I've tested it out sometimes. I've done like a video of it, just a punk's head rotating 360 degrees, and the punks community was like, no, and that will never come out. I will never show that until maybe one day I'll figure out a way to do it better, and people will accept it. But I'm trying to be, and again, I'm also now talking to other animators about making stuff, and I always tell them like we have to be as it's like it's imagine you're adapting your favorite book and you can't change anything. Like you have to be as faithful to the source material as we can. Now naturally we still need to make them move and have emotions and talk and stuff like that. So there needs to be something. But
Wow.
But I'm sure there'll be some people like you might be more purists than other people, and I think that's a very interesting conversation to have.
But
Yeah,
actually,
good.
No, I just wanted to say that for me it was very much the same. The first one I did that was a bit different was the six Marylands and piece, and these are screen crops, and they are not the same. They're all a little bit different in dimension. And then the later ones I did are very much on the 24 pixel grid. So in that period I would have never done this Marilyn thing, and now I'm again much more freer in it and doing trying other things.
Yeah.
Just trying to pull up this Maryland's thing. Oh, here we go. Okay, I'm pulling this up.
But I also wonder, Frederic, I think you do things just for yourself, because now you say that you talk with the communities, but I think you also make some or a lot of them on your own initiative, and you combine it with things that they ask you. Is that right? Or how do you make them?
It's for a long time I would make them fully on my own initiative. And it would be sometimes I would just be inspired by a punk or a moonbird or whatever I saw. Recently, I had some ideas for dig butts that I liked, and I made one little dig butt video that the community really liked. But what I'm liking at the moment, and this is what I'm sort of have started in the new year, is I like this back and forth of allowing an owner to audition an NFT or a PFP to me. And then we either come up with an idea together, or I come up with an idea and they just fully trust me. And then I think there's something quite Web3 about this. This it comes closer to some sort of decentralized filmmaking where I'm allowing people to anyone in the community to join in somehow, and I'm really enjoying this relationship, which I'm exploring. So like and that's really fun. But there's still elements of I have so many ideas of things I want to do with all these things that I'm developing over time. But so a bit of both.
Mm-hmm.
That's fascinating. I mean, so let me ask you this question. One thing you say, I mean, I just think it's fascinating to, because I'm somewhat of a purist in the sense that I think constraints are good, blah, 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 embrace them. And you really have to be careful, even small changes, like that has to be good. I'm not so much a purist, but I'm saying like, don't F with, don't cross these guys unless you're going to actually, do a good a good job. So I'm very much a purist in that sense, and that's part born of this collection I did called Fashion Hat Punks, where I put these hats on these punks, and the hats came from another thing and whatever. The point being, in that process, I was like, I'll just put hats on punks, whatever. But it's like, oh my God, like getting it right. And I don't think I got it right. It's really hard to just like slap something on a punk, which is what I did. Some things look cool. I like them, but like, wow, really complicated. And then you look at like, expansion punks, and big fan Jeremy.eth, and expansion punks, of course, had, women should have cowboy hats. And that's like, obviously, like they should, and that's good. And I wish they did in the original collection. But even looking at that, and I don't know, it's like, that's just one example, but like the extensions he did, it's still kind of like, it's like, it looks, does it really? It's so hard. And I think expansion punks is like, one of the best ones. But at the same time, I feel like if you are going to do it, you shouldn't have to ask the current owner. In other words, like, a lot of people talk about like artists' intent, like, if I'm going to maybe ask this, maybe I should ask Larva Labs what they think, the artist. And I'm very much a strict, like, there's no such thing as an artist. There's no such thing as intent. Like, artist is a bunch of people at any time, like inspirations, kicking it or whatever. And then intent, it's like, okay, well, you can't step in the same river twice. You can't talk to the same artist twice at what time. The same thing applies to, the owner of the punk, like which owner and what if they change their mind and can you convince them? But the owner of the punk did not have say in even the art, they didn't make the thing. So there's even more of a disconnect there. So I'm, why would you have to ask Larva Labs, which you don't do, but some people might think, and why do you have to ask, the punk owner? Why is the punk owner a better judge than either you or you plus another person? Fascinating question. I think, as you say, very unique to the NFT situation. Like, how would the owner even be relevant if this were not an NFT? You don't even know who owned this whatever thing. You know who created it, maybe. But what do you think?
I guess it's interesting. I think I guess what I'm trying to do, and this is what I realized while I was making these little videos. Some of them you've already shown on during the podcast. Is I liked how I like the engagement of the audience and what I do, and I like to surprise the audience. It's a real filmmaker's, storyteller's perspective, and I'll make something, and there's obviously an artistic author vision behind it a little bit, but I'm also, when I make something, let's say I make a 1-minute video or 30 seconds or 10 minutes or even an hour, I want a reaction out of people. I want you to laugh. I want you to be scared. I want you to cry. I want you to feel something. And what I noticed when I would do that with PFPs, that people already identify with, right? They use those PFPs as their avatars online, which is, I thought at the start, which was a very unique thing. I saw a potential to create stronger emotions and stronger engagements with stories, and this is sort of where what I'm trying to build slowly, very slowly, and to create that engagement, I want sort of this back and forth between an owner or a community of a certain collection and the stories themselves, and so I'm playing around with different ways. And some of them might be like, we are collaborating on this, and some of them are more like, I'm just doing something, and I'll do whatever I want. And I'm trying to find whatever that fine line is between those two standpoints. But so the thing is, so far, I haven't done something. Like I did a little video, very simple, of the artist fuck renders punk, like breathing and while sitting on a bench, right? And I didn't ask for his permission because he's fuck render, but he really liked it. I haven't had a person come back to me, send me an angry email, right? So at the moment, I think I'm in the clear. but yeah. I think for example, I've been developing this project. And there's like bigger stories that we want to do with an incubator here in London, and we did audience research where we asked lots of NFT owners around the world to send us their opinions on all of this, and we asked them questions like, what would you feel? How would you feel if your NFT, your PFP, was the villain in the story? How would you feel if your PFP was the shitty boyfriend in a story? How would you feel if your NFT was? And it's we got lots of interesting reactions about people. Obviously, they all want to be the star. They want to be the cool character. They want to be the Han Solo of the Indiana Jones of the story.
But Han Solo isn't the star. I guess he's just like the badass. Anyway, go on.
Yeah, he's the badass. He's the cool guy. And they want to be Darth Vader or Han Solo. That's kind of what we understood, which was interesting. So yes, so I'm basically I don't have a specific answer to give you on this, but I'm exploring it, and I think it's a very interesting relationship that relationship the owner has with their PFP, their avatar, and what we can do with stories to engage people.
Yeah, I think that's a great answer, actually, because I mean that just really answers my question. Because I was thinking it in terms of art, not necessarily the term copyright, but like the vision, the creative, vision fixed in this thing, like that's my vision, whatever. But really, what we're talking about is actually, identity and the idea that we're not worried about infringing someone's artistic vision. We're worried about like taking a person and representing them in an unflattering way because they are tied to their punk. So it's not so much that they happen to be the owner, because they're probably like, there's iconically the person Punks OTC, right, who's like this, big time like trader of punks and market making, like getting, and probably helps people get their punks. But anyone who has Sove, someone who has like hundreds of these things. And Sove has a Zorb on Twitter, right? He's in sport a punk avatar. So that's one universe of like, hey, I got a lot, or it's my, I'm trying to make money and not make money, but like I'm trying to trade them, whatever. But then the class of people say, no, this is my forever punk. This is my thing. Yeah, it's like you're kind of making a commentary on them. Like if you took a highly person, punk 6529, that's like the biggest one probably that I jumped to, and you said, hey, this is Darth Vader. Maybe that's cool. Maybe you'd like that, but you're definitely making like some kind of statement there, especially because you don't know what he actually looks like, or I don't at least. So I think that's fascinating. If you look at like, there's only 10,000 punks, and there's like, at least like 10 or 20 years left in, the human race. And so it's like, those are like the big PFP things, like, maybe there's a couple other collections, Moonbirds maybe, but like, there's not that much identity to go around. Quickly, I just want to look this thing that I was just pulling up because Piv has an amazing example of this, which I just want to show off, which is Piv did the motion blur, which I think really for me is a slam dunk in terms of the creativity plus constraints, because it is essentially not doing anything differently. It sticks to, anyway, you get the idea. It sticks to it. It plays with opacity. It's cool. It's motion blur punk. It also relates to some other work he's done with the spinning thing and whatever. But someone, I presume the owner of the punk, says,
I'm a huge fan. Anything Piv makes, I'm a huge fan of. He knows it, but I'm a big fan of Capsule 21 in general. I just wanted to say that as a... you guys are great.
Thank you. And also, I would just point out that Capsule 21 is more about like our collaborations in the sense that just, and maybe I collaborate in some way with Piv, but most of the stuff that we're like this thing, this is me also in the same position as you, admiring it. I wish I probably played some small role. I'm going to take some credit for it, just being in the scene. But this is really just like when Piv puts this out, I'm just like, whoa, sick. Like, so it's really great stuff. And the owner, I presume, of the punk said this. It says, so this is what being like a celebrity feels like. Piv, what you did to my dear 727, I assume Punk 727, is beyond perfection, which is always the case with your incredible work. Thank you sincerely. So literally the first sentence here is exactly what you were saying. This is what being a celebrity feels like. It's like, I know that's flippant. It's like, no, in reality, no, that's not at all what being a celebrity feels like. Like you're in Web3 fantasy land right now. But I get it. I'm a Web3 fantasy person too. So, I guess, one question, Piv, is when you got this, how does your experience relate to Freddie? And then I guess the other question for both of you is kind of, is this true insane Fantasyland, or in 10 years, is this going to be just like literally when a normal person says, this is what celebrity feels like, they'll kind of be talking about this and not like being a Web3 person, or anyway? So for our first question, Pip, like, what was your relation? Did you talk to this person before? How did you? What happened here? Contrast your experience with Freddy's.
For this one, well, it's actually not the punk owner, but the funk owner.
Whoa! Big twist. That's obviously I should have realized that it's facing left, but that's funny. Sorry, I'm flipping back to Freddy now. When you portray a punk facing left, funk, do you ask the funk owner instead of the punk owner?
It's very difficult. This one I find very difficult. I sort of love the weird relationship funks and punks have with each other, and I like that it's a bit. There are disagreements about who's right and who's wrong in that relationship, but I don't actually know yet. I don't normally the way I've done it so far is if a punk needs to look left suddenly, it will happen quickly, but we favor the right
Right.
more, and that becomes the sort of where the spotlight is of the. So I try to get around it that way. So if I don't know which side I'm on. It's because it's mirrored here, but yeah. So I've tried to make sure that they're mostly looking right. Well, yeah, technically their face is pointing right, but they're looking left, kind of. So it looks like they're looking towards you, which is sort of a Mona Lisa type effect, weirdly.
Right. That's definitely one of the core features. I agree. Or it's like, yeah, you maybe, but yeah, I mean, so just to me, and I want to go back to you, Pip, but to me, this perfectly encapsulates the challenge of what I was saying before, because it's like, the funks obviously are not just the punks looking left. There's some conceptual thing, and look, I love the fun. I came up in that whole thing, and that was my first NFT and all this kind of stuff. And there's a reason for that, but like at no point did I think what these are a literal depiction of a thing. This is like a metaphorical thing, and so you can't make a punk a funk just by turning its head. It's not that. It's like this is this kind of countercultural thing, and it's a way of making people mad about something that they should be mad about, or this kind of thing. So if you adopt a realistic mode of representation, you don't actually create a funk when they look left. The funk would be more appropriately like this would be corny, but like the countercultural punk, and some, like, you could imagine like the funks being like more the Darth Vader, although that's also lore. So I don't think the punks and the funks can coexist in the same filmic.
Yeah, but indeed, it was very easy as a profile picture on Twitter. You had punks and you had the funks, and you saw it immediately.
Yes.
But then if you start to use them for other things, especially this one who suggests a moving face, it gets complicated, yes, because you can also say she's moving and she moved her head. She moved from left to right for this one, so yes, it's true.
I love that
fascinating
conversation. I made a very simple video. I sent it in the chat where it's a punk and a funk kissing.
Yes, this is a good one. I've seen this one. Let's pull it up.
It's not my favorite video. I think it can be better, but in the video, I hope I didn't get it wrong now because it's been a while. I did it for Valentine's Day last year, where I think the punk, I think they're always looking in the direction they should be looking. But I just thought it would be quite funny to have that. Yeah, but maybe you're right. Maybe they shouldn't exist in the same universe.
Well, this is, I think with this you are. Wow, this is louder than the others. I'm playing it, by the way, for the audience. I pulled it up, so I'm going to play it again. I'm just going to loop it right now. I think this one works for me because it gets to sort of a quasi like punk ethos. I thought this was Paris, but is this Paris?
No. It's London.
It's London. Okay, so that I don't like it as much. I like Paris. I like London. But let's pretend it was Paris for a second. Like this to me, in Paris strikes me as kind of like a young lovers, underdogs. This isn't like they're not kissing, in the Ritz or whatever. So, I think it gets there for me, and it's a very romantic, scene. And I think it's I think also placing the punks in a true photographic context versus like the Casablanca thing or the other one where it's a world created for the punks kind of creates a more alt thing. So I like this video. I think this did you ask for permission for anyone? Oh, having an audio issue there. Pib, can you hear?
No, I don't hear Frederic.
Okay. So it's not my Rube Goldberg machine here. Freddie, I think there might be an issue with your mic, or it might be my bad. Le McPree. Oh, you put it in the chat those many years ago. That's very very good. I just saw it. Good. What are you planning on having for lunch? No, we can't hear you. We'll
play another one.
It could be. I wonder if it's this video somehow.
Yes, he's back. I think he's back.
Back in the game? No. I don't think this is my fault, because if you can hear it, Pib, you're hearing it just through the same Discord. I really want to say, we'll cut this out of the final thing. Let me check the Twitch. Maybe let me just check and see if there's some engagement there.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I realized what I did. I don't know why my phone isn't connected to the thing, and my phone got a phone call, and then I don't know. Anyways, it should work now.
Yes, you're back.
Sorry about that.
We are good, but I'm still going to engage on Twitch just real quick and say hi. And we got nothing. No response. Okay, we got it. So where were we? Oh yeah, I just asked a challenging question, actually, in fact, which is, did you seek or achieve permission for anyone from or for everyone on the quasi Paris, quasi London rooftop kiss concept? Did you ask the funk owners, for example?
I think I didn't for that one. I think I was a bit cheeky. But I don't remember. It's been a while. There's a chance, maybe. I don't think so. I've done this as well for a few. Sometimes I create punks or funks that don't exist. I look for a combination of attributes that were never generated when the mint happened. But in this case, I think I just copied a couple, and then I'm unfortunately. You can blame me on that one for that one.
I don't. I mean, I think it's fine. In fact, I think it's part of the funk ethos to not ask for permission on this obviously fine and good thing. So I will not. I'm just curious how it contrasts with your other stuff. But I certainly think it's fine. I love the video. Here. Oh, sorry. Back to Piv for a moment on the motion blur. So did you ask or communicate with the owner before, or was it purely a reaction on the owner's part?
The funk owner, you mean?
Oh, the funk owner. Yeah.
I got a DM. She said, if you want to do something with my funk, I would appreciate that.
Oh, wow. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I do get quite some questions recently, also from punk owners. And I think this is the best way for me to, if you have at some point like a list with punks or funks, because if it's really like, can you do something now for this reason or something like that, it's much more difficult for me to find something.
So that's sort of a good constraint in a way. So opening up the possibilities of I can break the grid maybe, or I can do other stuff that's not like canon or whatever, but I've got to do it with one of these punks. That can kind of replace in some ways
Yeah.
That's fascinating. I love that. Wow. So could this become, I guess I knew this, that you had this pivot, and somebody was really hitting me hearing both of you talk about it. Could this become like a major industry? You know what I mean? Like could, obviously there is the classic example of the Mooncat accessories, which comes up a lot for some reason when Piv and I talk. Never have the Mooncat accessories been successful, nor really, I think, has any true Web3 accessory thing where it's on the NFT and it shows up. This is different. It's not Web3 because it's a separate thing and you're not attached to the owner or whatever, but it's better because it actually is this, is there going to be a way for, punk owners to just like pay for this kind of thing in a more generic way versus talking to, having to like know an artist and talk to an artist? Like, is this going to be like, oh, do you have a punk? Yeah, I got a punk. Did you get a blah, blah, blah? Oh yeah, I got a blah, blah, blah. Like, is this going to be like a bigger, thing? Are you guys the vanguard?
I think we're slowly seeing that happen. There are certain platforms that there's a platform called Atrium NFT, where literally any creator, I've spoken to them. A creator could basically say, "Hey, look, you can. I want to make a graphic or an illustration or a video or an animation with a PFP, and then whoever wins the auction receives an NFT in return, and that NFT, once the graphic, the commission, whatever, if it's a video or an illustration, is finished, it replaces the placeholder NFT that the auction winner won. There are systems like this. Wasn't the Coinbase Bored Apes trilogy? That was they like auditioned Bored Apes for that as well. So I think that's slowly going to happen. I think if yeah, I think it makes sense. No, I think if there's something entertaining about seeing a punk with motion blur, which I think it is, I think that makes me smile. I think why not create a system to allow people to, and right now it's informal, right? It's through the direct messages on Twitter and Discord, but I'm sure slowly that will become more mainstream for the Web3 people.
Yeah, I think it's, when you put it like that, I agree. It is not that, it's kind of like an inevitable idea. But at the same time, I guess it's sort of parasitic on, so to speak, on another idea, which is that like this is going to be, this identity thing is actually going to happen. So let me flip it back and say in terms of identity, something that you mentioned, throw that back at you, which is you mentioned going to the Punks Discord. Now, the Punks Discord, I think, quasi semi-famously, you need, there's some kind of punk, on the punk. So I think that's a natural question. I'm not trying to like, say like, hey, what's the deal with your PFP thing? But like, you kind of brought it up. Are you a, punk holder and also a member of the, that kind of thing? Like, are you on both sides of the coin here? Are you buttering your bread double time?
No, I'm not a punk holder. I wish, like most people, I guess. But no, I literally, and yeah, like the punks Discord is notoriously quite difficult to it's quite difficult to chat on there. You can't send any links, and so I try to reach out to people directly for that one. On other Discords, I might just reach out and just say, hey, I'm doing these sort of things. Is anybody interested? And then I'll get a bit of interest out of that. It's again always trying to find a way in, and what is fun is you slowly start create connections with some of them, and like and you learn to speak to the mods on the Discord, and it's slowly. But there's like anything, you just the trick is to not sound like a scammer, and just and to feel you have to sound authentic and sincere, which I try to
Yeah,
do.
I think those same things apply. I've tried those, but never, I did it in the Funk Discord, kind of like got going there, but the Punk Discord is just incredibly intimidating. Pib and I, well, at least I, and Pib has represented this fact, though he might be hiding it from me. As far as I know, Pib doesn't own a punk. I, as far as I know, don't own a punk. So the three of us, and I think we all want one. So the three of us are in the same boat in that respect. And so my question then goes to this point of, is this sort of like free alpha or whatever, where you're sort of making this pretty strong claim, which I've heard before, but hearing you say it and hearing you live it with the artwork, and Pib lives it too, that this thing is going to be big, this PFP thing, this identity thing, isn't it, shouldn't we be checking our couch cushion, so to speak? I'm not sure if that's an idiom outside of America, but like looking for the spare change. Should we be figuring out a way to buy one of these? Aren't they going to go up a lot, basically, because of this identity thing? Like the identity thing works. These things are no longer just, hey, I'm rich, or I love, thing, or no longer like I'm a collector or trader. These things are like, it's me. And it seems like if there are only 10,000 me's and 7 billion people, is this, are punks very much undervalued for this reason?
Piv, you want to take that one first?
Yeah, I had to mute my mic because they're doing works here in the building. Yeah, but another thing I wonder about, once the next cycle kicks off, the new people won't be able to afford it. So what will that do with the price? Will it really grow that much?
Ah,
Because there's a big threshold now for new people.
right. This is a good point. This is always so I used to run a music company called Genius.com, which was like lyrics and also stories and behind the songs. This whole thing, it was my life for quite a long period of time. But we were doing the site, and we'd always get like this question about strategy and who you want to go after. Like, do you want to get like, whatever super famous artist on the site? I don't know, and then it's like, yes, that'd be good. But really what you want to do is find the next that, like that's actually the better thing to do. And the way you actually make a dent is you find someone who no one knows about, who becomes big later. And, that's a harder strategy to do, even because you don't even know who the people are and whatever. So what's the next punks is another question. But before I ask that, I agree with you, Pib, what's the next punks? I would just kind of stick on this and just say these are, annoying questions, second only to the question about like what movie do you like or whatever. But like, what punk do you like? Don't tell me the punk number, but like, I was talking to someone, this guy Forever Punks, great guy, gonna be guest on the pod next week. And I don't want to spoil that, but one thing he said was like, it's not just about owning a punk, it's about like the core feature of that punk. Like you can't buy a hoodie punk because 6529 is the hoodie punk. And some people know it's like nerd glasses or whatever, but like whatever, it's a small picture, it's the hoodie punk. So it's not just about getting one of the 10,000. There's probably like actually only like 500 punks or something. So with that in mind, and maybe even without that in mind, if you had 150 ETH to spend, but you didn't want to spend all of it, like what would you look for in a punk? Freddie, no pressure.
That is a good question. I think I like the crazy red hair ones. I mean, I like the aliens. I like those weird eyes. But they're also those the rarest, right? So, but yeah, because with the aliens you never know what if they're looking left or right. I like that. But the red hair, I like the crazy red hair ones, definitely.
Well, you mentioned that aliens are the rarest. That's actually not true. Here is a rarer type of punk: punks that have 2 hidden attributes.
Oh, really?
You know how like the earring is hidden behind the hoodie? There are only 6 punks who have 2 attributes that are hidden, i.e., don't show up in the image, but show up in the traits. So those are the actual true grail rarest. And in that vein, that might actually be my favorite one, like which is owned by Pauly in the punk world. but the green clown eyes, hoodie, smile hidden, earring hidden, or something like that hidden. Piv, what is same question.
Well, the ones I like most are the ones I work most with, I think. And then I always take the simple ones like 0 trade, 1 trade, 2 trades. And
so
I
zero trade.
Yeah, 0 trade not so often, but 1 or 2 trades I use mostly. So these are actually quite common punks. Not 1 trade, but 2 trades. And I also use the albino a lot because it has like a better contrast.
I love that.
So it would
I
be
think-
one like that, yeah.
I think, if I were to say in that vein, I'm putting mine up here because I own the funk version, which is not as good. Sorry, is 3065, which is I mentioned the 2 hidden traits thing, but that's kind of dumb because you can't even see that. But what you can see is 2 colors. There are 26. How many of there? 24. There are 24 punks that are made up of entirely just 2 colors, and that you can immediately see, and it's pretty rare. And so that would be what I would take if I could have any one. And this is the one with the regular shades and the big hair, crazy hair, wild hair, whatever, crazy hair, maybe wild hair. I actually don't like it because I don't want to wear sunglasses, like being like too cool or whatever. Since I got it, but like that, I think is a great one. Yes, the simple ones with a story behind them. To me, are iconic. But I don't know. Okay, just another quick question, and look, it's like I get it. Like you just got to ask the meme questions for the audience. So here's another one. What do you think of V1 punks? I know, and I'm not trying to get in a huge discussion about it, okay? But I just want to know. You have to ask these questions. What do you think of the V1 punks? What do they mean to you?
To be honest, the V1 punks, I don't have a hot take on it, but for me it's I'm interested in. I want to tell some kind of story about that somehow eventually, and I haven't figured out how I want to, but I like the story behind it, and I think there are ways to, with a bit of fiction and a bit of humor, to tell that story. But I personally don't have a hot take on it. I'm sorry.
Well, you do have the take of you don't ask the V1. Now, look, I actually don't want to talk about this because it's like more with this tiresome thing. But just to have the audience quickly with it and whatever, it is true that one might say that you should have to ask both or the V1 or whatever, not just the V2, because like what's the the original thing or whatever. So there is the point being there is some social consensus thing that underlies the social consensus of you asking. So there's 2 kind of layers. It's like, and we knew that before because what is an artist? So anyway, I don't want to get into this too much, but audience, as an exercise to you, critically engage with this question, please. So, yeah, I mean, this to me kind of. Let me just look at the Twitter real quick because like I looked at a bunch of stuff and I didn't quite.
I think we should watch the Usual Suspects movie. That's a nice one too. Can we have a quick look
the
at this one?
lad.
The
usual
little
lads.
The
Yeah.
larva
Let
lads, yes.
me put this through the video downloader thingy.
what you just said about punks actually kind of gave me an idea for a video, which I might do one day. It'd be interesting to do a cloning story, where who's the clone, who's the that kind of, which we've all seen before in other movies, in sci-fi films.
No, I love that, and I think well, here, let me pause this video for a second. I love that because to me it's kind of like who's the clone, who's not the clone, right? That's amazing and everyone's nightmare, and gets to a lot of things. And so one might say, well, in the NFT world, we know who's the clone, who's not the clone, because we look at, we check the chain. But then there's another person who would say, well, there's a social consensus layer that's on top of that. So what does that consensus layer say? Like in 10 years, someone might come back and say, everyone loves the V1s. That's just what happened. And then those would be, original, regardless of which were quote unquote first. I think in general, priority claims, literal priority claims to me are, very tiresome, absent other things. They're definitely interesting, but I don't think they are super duper duper strong in terms of just the way life is. But I get it. But yeah, I think the clone story is great.
It's interesting what Soft said, the owner who was there when they distributed the new ones. And he says, yeah, they gave us a new version and a better version, and it was okay, we took it. So it's also interesting. Of course, there's a better one, so that's the new one. That's basically what he said. And they didn't really care about the V1 or V2. It was just, okay, we have a better version.
Yeah,
This is it
but
now.
at the same time,
But it exists. Yes, they still exist.
no, but I'm even challenging that on its face. Like at the same time, who gets to say what's better and when do they say it? So yes, there was this huge bug with the V1s where you couldn't actually transact with them in an unwrapped basis. The V2s fixed that, but they also introduced something called bidding, which had its own bug that has cost a lot of people a lot of money, which is this front running issue. Whereas if there's no way to accept a bid, you can only accept whatever bid is present at the time with the minimum price. So if you bid on your own thing for $10 and accept that, someone will get it first and you will lose your punk. So that's a pretty big bug, basically. And so, it's obviously not as bad, but it does mean that there is this thing on the smart contract that is a gotcha that for all eternity now will not scam people, but will like confuse people and maybe have them do something wrong. So the V2s have problems as well. And this is something that, I think someone's got to come around and release a new version, not of the punks necessarily, but of the market. Like the CryptoPunks market, I don't know, it's revolutionary for its time, but it's got problems. Let's watch the Larva Lads video. The Usual Suspects, quick fun fact, was the last movie I saw as a man who did not have a kid. So it means a lot to me.
That's a fun fact. A really fun fact.
It means a lot. Okay, I'm going to play this play the clip. Okay, here we go.
All right, you all know the drill. Number 1, step.
Okay, I should pause it. I have to say there's some profanity in this, which is in the movie and art or whatever, but just don't blast this. I'm a father, so I can say that kind of thing. Okay, here we go.
All right, you all know the drill. Number 1, step forward.
Hand me the keys, you fucking cocksucker.
Number 2, step forward.
How many fucking keys? You cocksucker, what the fuck?
Number 3, step forward.
Hand me the keys, you fucking cocksucker.
Number 4, step forward.
Very, very cool. So when I watch this, I immediately think that this video is sort of the most challenging one for me, maybe for you. I don't know if it's for me because it's not a punk, so it's actually not that bad. But it's putting something. Not only it's the roof of London, but it's actually in a movie scene. So you have to really make sure that you don't do something bad, and you have to put it on the shoulder and have it track. I don't know how you do that, but this seems to me, from a technical standpoint, I also love the video, like a pretty. Anyway, yeah. Can you talk about that kind of stuff a little bit? Was this harder than the Paris-London scene? I'm going to call it the Paris-London scene.
I think again, it's been a while since I made that, but I think that's probably the most meme-like video I've done. There's a lot of people who like they'll put like their punk's face on like Morpheus of the Matrix, and it's like a shitty little Photoshop, or like, and then they'll write a meme around it, and I always found a lot of those memes a little let's say poorly made, quickly made, and I think for this I like, it was the title that struck me first. It was I like the idea of the title, The Usual Lads, instead of The Usual Suspects, and I thought that was funny. And then I tried to find a scene of the movie that would fit, and obviously that's the most iconic scene, right? The beginning of the film where they all meet, and
the most iconic scene though must be the thing where, I don't want to spoil it for Pip, but like, where towards the end with the Skokie thing or whatever, but no spoilers. But yes, I agree. This is maybe not.
No, yeah, of course. But I wouldn't want to use that, right? I would want to use something that doesn't spoil it too much. And then I looked at the scene, and I really started to consider and there's a lot of weird little tricks happening here. Like, I think I've removed one of the actors, from the actual shot, the wide shot where you see
Ooh.
all. I don't know if that's true. I have to relook at the video. And then the little scene where you're close by on the shoulder. That's actually my shoulder where I refilmed. I put on a suit to just and then so there's a lot of little things that I do to sort of fake it. But I mean, those are just filmmaking tricks that you see in other movies.
That's
think
amazing. I feel like I'm watching director's commentary of Incredibly Everywhere or whatever. Like it's the director's shoulder.
Yeah, and there's a
Got the
lot
red shirt.
of trickery involved in this. Like there's a lot of yeah, like I remember one of the hardest thing about that was I had to paint out it was all the lines, I don't know, the height lines in the background, and I don't know, because I had to really paint out the guy, and I don't remember why, but I did it. And then if you watch the
Sorry, real quick, for people at home who might not know all the lingo, I know all the lingo 100%. What does paint out mean?
Oh, paint out, sorry, is when you have, it's quite literally, imagine you have a picture with, you can see this in these like Google Pixel adverts these days, where you have something in a picture that you want to remove, like a person who's photobombed your nice selfie. You just literally cut them out and then paint what would actually be behind them, as if they weren't there. So in this case, I removed one of the actors, and I really cannot remember why I had to do that. But I removed one of the actors, so I had to paint what was behind them on through Photoshop. And then yeah, and the whole scene, honest. And if you look at the scene of the original film and the scene you're watching, the little video, they're actually they're almost quite different. Like I've put one line sooner, and like there's a lot of weird. Because I had to make it as short as possible, and the actual scene is way longer where they actually talk, and so I needed to get to the cut to the chase much faster. So there's a lot of trickery happening.
I'm scrubbing the video for our people at home. I'm really scrubbing it with the zoom in. I don't know what you would call this, but I call it zooming in on Benicio del Toro, the shoulder of the other actor, and I'm zooming in, and it turns into you at some point. But like I can't find, but I can't find the moment it becomes you. I sort of can, but
you can sort of see this is too much
color changes of the red shirt.
You can see it's a different, yeah, it's a different red shirt and it's a different suit if you really look closely.
This is incredible. I see, to me, and no offense to this video, but I like this part more. You know what I mean? Like I like hearing the backstory. And I think this is always the it kind of connects back to like just the everything, like it's just so any trivial looking thing, not that this looks trivial, but like any not cutesy, but like, you know what I mean? Any like, hey, this is just some throwaway is fun, whatever. It's like, no, it's really a lot, harder and more than just harder, more intentional than you think.
Yeah, but this is what I love about Piv is like, and I know there's a lot of thinking, a lot of testing, because Piv and I have sort of we've sort of brainstormed on stuff in the past, but he moves one pixel and then it's like amazing, and I'm like I spent 3 days painting out a person. That's why I think Piv is a genius. I'm the idiot here, but yeah, a lot of work goes into these things.
But I really like your stuff because it really looks. Yeah, you're also a professional filmmaker, but it's also these little movies that really look like they have the quality of a blockbuster.
I mean, that's what I try. I try to really make you feel like this is a quality, and that's why they take time to make, and it's not something I can make in a day, most of them. And then that doesn't include the ideation process, which sometimes can, I have so many unfinished videos that are just they just didn't work for whatever reason. But yeah, no, I spend but I'm also, I know what my limitations are. Everything you see, for example, is shot with a phone. I don't own a real camera, and I know what a phone can do well. I know and as time goes on, I'm learning new skills and they become a bit more complex. But in the end, it's just my phone and my laptop doing everything. But me mostly knowing what those things can do well and not well, and I make an effort to not do the things I know, don't work.
I love that. I want to pause just for a moment, well, let me just jump here because I want to encourage this behavior because there's an audience question, and this is our first ever audience. I shouldn't be saying that. Act like you've been there, but this is like a big moment for us. Okay, it's in Twitch chat. The question basically is, I'm not going to say it. I'm going to paraphrase it. The question basically is, look, you're kind of looking at this maybe the wrong way because it's not about the punks or the next punks. Like there's a hierarchy. Where the best analog is here, it's luxury goods, maybe, or whatever. And in luxury goods, there's this big, conversation where it's like, I like BMW, I like Mercedes, I like Rolex, I like Patek Philippe, and maybe Patek Philippe is more expensive than Rolex, but there's some people like Rolex more, and it represents something better. So it's really less about the hierarchy and more about the tiers. And people do this actually. They do NFT tiers, like this is the blue chip tier, but blue chip sounds like a stock, but really it's more like luxury, tiers. And so I think the question is basically, is that an interesting way to look at it? I think that's cool, and I think luxury goods are how I describe NFTs to normal people. I think that, I don't know what to ask here. Is this right? And if so, is there a tier, the Rolex tier, today? Will this, are these like luxury goods with the Rolex? And do either of you own a Rolex? I don't own a Rolex, but I don't know Punk either.
It brings another thought in my mind. With the thing we were talking before, like the custom made, the biggest thing in these things is the custom made version. Like there was recently Aldo who bought a new watch, and it was a custom made one with a green flag now because he. So this brings us a bit back to what we talked earlier about customization of your thing.
That's fascinating because I would say it's the opposite in a way because it's like, well, one example, of course, is the iPhone. Like, no matter how rich you are, you don't have a custom-made one-of-one iPhone. True. Nor do you really have a custom-made one-of-one car, right? Like, the Mercedes G-Wagon thing, like that is an expensive car that people like. Like, no one really wants, I don't think, a one-of-one car. And watches maybe more so, but still, I feel like if you're trying to flex, you want a known quantity in a way. And so that is a fascinating... I don't know. What do you think, Freddie?
To be honest, I always like when it comes to, when talking about anything Web3 or NFTs, I like to find a world, like a real world counterpart that is not Web3 because I think it's helpful. And I think the car one or even the watch is interesting. I think there's a good analogy there where, you could sort of say, like, if you buy I'm not a car person, so I'm sorry, but if you buy a Mercedes, that's almost like buying a certain collection that is worth a certain amount of money. And then if you buy a cheaper car, I don't know, what's a cheap car? Volkswagen. A Polo or something that's a bit slightly cheaper, that's buying into a slightly less blue chip community, and yet both cars can take you to work, right? Can drive you to your grocery shop, and so I don't think one is better than the other, and I don't think it's just. And then within those cars, you can still modify them. You can make them a color you prefer. You can if you wanna put like a dragon on the front of your car, you can buy you can do all these things. So there's a quite a good analogy to our PFPs and our NFTs collection, I think.
That's a great point with the car modifications. That might be getting at it because people don't want one-of-one cars, but they do make their cars one-of-one by buying this combination of wheels and the headlights and everything. So yeah, a rich person might buy the same G-Wagon another rich person buys, but they might put the best sound system ever in it. So yeah, I think that's actually a really strong point, you know. And that's also just my intuition, is no one wants a one of one. Like, let's be honest, like, people don't like new things. People want a derivative. People want a modification. Like, that's what I want. Like, I want something that makes sense to me, not like I have to engage critically with this thing. And even the great one of one artists, right? Like X Copy or whatever. I don't know if he's great. I like him and, you know, consider it mainstream in a way, but like, he has a look, you know. I mean, you need a look. You can't make everything a true one of one. You know, that's insane. So, you know, it's like, you ever see the Simpsons episode where Homer Simpson designs a car? You know what I'm talking about? And it's like this. Okay, hold on. Let me pull it up, so to speak. Homer Simpson car.
I think we all want community, right? You know, we buy stuff, and you know, we like to sort of recognize something that we have or that we've bought into something else. Like if I go to Piv's house and I see that he's got the same taste in music than me, there's something that brings us closer, right?
Yes, and there's no community in being truly unique.
Indeed, there's something to talk. You need something to talk about.
Yes, so yeah, one of ones are dead. Sorry, we've this is Homer's car. You can't see it, but this is, or if you go on Twitch, you can.
It depends. I don't think X copies one-on-ones are. I mean, they are one-on-ones, but in the end, you're buying into the X copy collection.
Yeah, and they look like X copy. You can tell. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I agree.
You could say a punk, that punk is a one-on-one of that punk, but you still buy. It's part of the punk collection. It's, for me, there's blockchain-wise, and it's different, but on an emotional and attachment side, there's not a huge difference between a one-on-one from Xcopy and a unique punk, and that relation to a wider community, in my opinion.
I agree, and I mean, I'm sure there's an example of this, but like, you know, what's an artist who every time did a one of one? Like, does that exist? Like, every time is a true one of one. Like, it was not in conversation with the previous stuff. That's kind of a fascinating question. But before we do that, we're running low on time. I just want to do one thing really quickly, and then get into grab bag. But I just, you know, we talk a lot about punks. Just, this dude's legit. Like, here's, you know, this is not like his best work or whatever necessarily. I like it. This was just some random thing I found on the Instagram, which sort of shows like, you know, hey, even when I'm making, you know, I make the playful punk stuff, but this is like a more, you know, not NFT thing, and thought I'd play it here. This is the Lost in Istanbul video, which is essentially a super short thing that I just look at this and I think like, wow, like, this is really cool. Like, this is, you know, super short, but it gives me this taste of Istanbul. And you could watch this video and think just like, this is just a cool guy's Instagram, filmmaker's Instagram. You would not know the dark secret of the punk thing if you were normal. But yeah, just, you know, what you know, how does this, making a video like this, compare to a punk video of the same length? And, you know, when you look at your Instagram, that branding versus the punk world branding, and, you know, because you are like a real person, you know, famously.
It's a good question. I look, my Instagram, my non Web3 career life is very much. I work with a lot of phone brands, and I shoot campaigns for phone brands shot with phones. So that's sort of my specialty. And so that one, I was in Istanbul for a job, and that was literally me just walking around without aimlessly at sunset and filming what I thought was beautiful. So that's like, that comes very easy to me. And I was like, that's like, it's like, you know, like free writing, like you're sketching without intent, or like there was no, and then the images just happened to be nice, and I edited them together into what you just saw. When it comes to punks and NFTs, there's animation, there's more planning is involved. And that's nice. I like both. I like doing both. And yet, what's fun is when you make a video with a punk or any NFT, and there are moments when this is actually quite fun when you've brought them to life a bit. You've just put them in the scene, like you've put the lad on the shoulder and suddenly when their eyes start to move or something, that character is starting to tell you what it should be doing. And there's something once it starts living, it just you kind of feel what that character should do. Whereas before I was feeling what the character should be, and now the character is telling me what it should be. It's kind of interesting. And so there's always sort of a little moment where when the video is starting to take shape, where I'm like, oh, but this is how it should end. I'm having that right now with I'm doing a video with like 6 funks together and they're hanging out in the streets, and as soon as I put the funks in there, and I was like, oh, but that funk should be winking at that one, and like there's just suddenly like the everything is just it just starts coming to life. So that's that in that sense, it's similar to the Istanbul video and the process behind it, where you let, like, you know, my job in general is I see something and I capture it, right, and I let the city, in that case Istanbul, inspire me to capture something. And when that starts happening with the NFTs, then I just like I'm like running around the room. I'm like I'm very excited.
I love it. I mean, I think yeah. I mean, well, Piv, you know, my reaction to that. Piv, tell me your reaction to that. Does that sound familiar?
Yes, yes, sure. I can really understand how yeah, bringing life in them can be something special. Yes, the moment that they starts to be alive.
I love it. I think that's very well said. Well, this has been an amazing conversation. I think we've
Yeah,
gone
I
over, but I'm
just
glad.
wonder if
Yeah, Piv.
there's one you would like to show, like a last one maybe.
Sure. Yeah, of
Frederic?
course. What?
Is there one you wish?
Of course. Yeah, Freddie. What did we miss? Where did we fall short?
What do you want to see?
Just one you like, and maybe are there other ones you had to do additional filming or stuff? Or what I really like is it's like what you said earlier, that you really use filming techniques like mixing things up. The original movie you had to mix up, or the original scene you had to mix up. That's really interesting to me, like the technical things you had to do sometimes. But you can show whatever you want.
I've just put something in the chat that you can show. I mean, yeah, look, this little video, it's funny if you hear it with sound. It's very simple, very short, but it demonstrates a lot of what you just said, Piv, and that is I really try to. I spend time thinking, if that NFT was alive, how would that work, and how would that, and to do that I try to ground them a bit. My whole ethos was always like, if I'm making a video, like I really want to make a video about zombie punks at some point, and I want to make a video about how like zombie punks wanting to eat other punks, and like I think it would be really fun. But I always think like, okay, but that zombie punk, does it have to pay rent? How does it brush its teeth? Like I really, it sounds cliche, but I spend time thinking about these things, like I would with any character, and yet I want to stay true to the fact that it's a zombie that wants to eat your brains. You know, an alien came to Earth, and at the same time, I want to ground it and make it feel a bit real. And that, I think, is sort of this weird dichotomy that is interesting. And visually, how I try to translate that is I want to stay as true as possible to the original art. And yet, I need to use realistic filming techniques, like even like motion blur, which is the idea that things in the foreground are out of focus and in the background they're out of focus, and in the middle you have something in focus, right? Which you can see in this video that I just sent. That's just doing little things like that, and there's lots of things like there's little shadows that I hide that you can't even see, or and there are so many little things that nobody will ever notice, but I do them because I care. That I do to trick you into feeling like that thing is alive right now, and in this case it's a big butt that farts, and the other ones think like, who farted? It's that simple, but I don't know. So yeah, but that's been, I've been doing this. I've been literally thinking about this for like almost 2 years now, and it's been a process of learning those things. I didn't know most of those tricks in the beginning. There's a movie called Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which sort of combines animation and live action, and so I spent time analyzing that film and seeing how they do it, and it's all cinema is trickery, it's magic, and it's fun to make people believe stuff. That's the beauty of it, in my opinion.
I think that's a good point too, because just with Roger Rabbit, it's like Roger Rabbit was lo-fi and low tech, right? It was before a lot of tech happened, and pixel art also is lo-fi and low tech in a way. But if you compare Rabbit with newer things, Rabbit almost does it, better, more quote unquote realistic. Like the more CGI. This is also true of like Jurassic Park, say, like the earlier Jurassic Parks, which were not, and then it's later, it's like the CGI, the better thing. Star Wars is the same way. So, yeah, I just think that is, that's interesting, and I think using some techniques from that with another kind of like retro vibe. What's the background here? The windmills and the sunset or sunrise. Like where did that come from?
That was that's back home. I come from Belgium. That's near. It's on a very flat, ugly beach, but somehow this was at sunrise. So I woke up at like 5 a.m. to film some stuff, and I suddenly, in this case, I saw some birds like literally walking around in the shallow water eating, and I was like, oh, maybe what if dick butts like moved around and together as a group, and there were these like little creatures, and they wanted to drink salty water. I don't know. That was I was driving home thinking of that, and then that's how that idea came about.
Wow, so you had to wake up at 5 a.m. See, that's an example of like, it's hard to make movies and film. You have to wake up early sometimes. Like, a lot of people out there heard that. It was just like, oh, that's it. I'm not going to be a filmmaker. Too early.
I mean, sunset and sunrise are unparalleled for lighting. So this is more techie cinematography talk. But yeah, if you want beautiful light, you gotta suffer for it.
Yeah, I think that's very, very well. Suffering, other suffering too. I'm sure. So yeah, you if you're listening to this, you can relax. I hope this was a relaxing podcast, but okay, you gotta work hard to achieve things in life, and you're no exception if you think you are. So that's a shout out to all the listeners. This has been an amazing conversation. I think it's we've got to have you back. I think next time you're back, which hopefully is soon, we'll all have punks, that's for sure, and they'll be good ones, not floor ones. All the floor ones are pretty good. And if you want to follow our amazing guest today, you can do so on Instagram at F Van Strydonck. If you want to follow Frederic on Twitter, you can look at F Van Strydonck. Very good, very nice. And Frederic's website is splatch.film. And he also has a link tree, so it's not like you have to memorize all this stuff. It's on his Twitter. Amazing punk artist, amazing animator, filmer, puts them together, and incredible counterpoint to and friend with Piv. Also, I'd like to thank Piv. Thank you, Piv, for booking our guest. Our sound engineer has been Sound check also conducted by me. This has been the Capsule 21 podcast, a podcast about art, life, timeless art, the blockchain. Typically, it's Thursdays at 5 p.m. We're live on Twitch, but I will always tweet it, and others will when we're live on Twitch. You can be a guest. You can join in. Please engage and share the podcast. And thank you all so much. Any final closing thoughts to our two premier punk artists? You can just like wave or whatever if you don't have it.
It's always nice to talk to thoughtful people, and you know, in a space full of noise, you guys do something you do really interesting stuff. So I really appreciate it. Having me on, guys.
Thank you.
Awesome. Cool. Capsule 21.